Where is the NBA? Where's the Speaker of the House? That's what I want to know. Where's the Speaker of the House condemning 43 law enforcement officers who have been murdered? Are their names on the back of any jerseys? Or is that just for preening and posturing by the true privileged who play sports for a living? These are real people.
Powerful words on Tuesday from Texas Congressman Chip Roy on the House floor as he paid tribute to 43 law enforcement officers killed in the line of duty and read each of their names aloud.
Congressman Roy joins us now. Congressman, what put you over the top to say, I'm taking a stand? What was the moment? Was it this weekend?
Well, thanks for having me on this morning. Look, we're all been sitting back in shock watching the complete lack of leadership from the Democratic Party, from the Speaker of the House. Where are they? While we're watching law enforcement officers getting attacked. And yes, watching those two deputies in Los Angeles getting shot point blank, sitting in their car, watching them then having to take care of each other while these people are just heckling them outside of a hospital and then saying that they hope they die. And then watching videos where they're laughing at them from the corner. This is something that is now going deep into our society, a cultural rot, because our Democratic leadership refuses to stand with law enforcement. My grandfather was the chief of police of a Texas town, Sweetwater, Texas. My great-great-grandfather was a Texas Ranger. We all know that law enforcement is that thin blue line, keeping us between freedom and security and safety and anarchy. And the Democrats want to side with BLM and Antifa and anarchy over our law enforcement, and I'm tired of it. These are 43 people that have been murdered. How many have been assaulted? How many of our communities have been burned to the ground, $1 billion worth of damage? While Nancy Pelosi's getting her hair done in a salon while not wearing a mask? The American people are tired of it. And the Speaker refuses to come to the floor, bring a resolution to the floor, have us vote on anything to stand as a body behind our law enforcement community. And I've had it. I've had it, and the Speaker of the House needs to go.
One of the biggest issues for Americans, law and order. People are fearful that they're going to get attacked, that their businesses are going to get rioted, or someone's going to pull out a gun on the street and rob them. And especially with all this defunding. And so there's this poll that Rasmussen took. And they're saying, is there a war on police in America today? 59% said yes. That's up from 43% just 2 years ago. 29% said no. 12% were undecided. What's your reaction to that? Do you think this is going to be the biggest issue when people go to the polls?
Well, it's absolutely the biggest issue because I hear it every day on the streets in Texas when I've been traveling all over the district I represent in Central Texas, and particularly in Austin, where the radical leftist city council, the same type of Democrats like Nancy Pelosi who run the city council in Austin, just cut the police department by a third. I talk to these police officers. They're feeling unloved by these cities. But let me tell you, the American people love them. So if you're in the law enforcement community out there, know that you've got the cavalry coming in and we've got your back. We're going to stand up and fight Nancy Pelosi in the House of Representatives. I'm going to stand up against the city council in Austin, Texas, and we're going to defend the cops that are defending us. We're going to defend the DPS troopers, the state troopers that defend us, the Rangers, the federal officers, the people that are at the Border Patrol who are standing up on the border, ICE, condemned by this Speaker. All throughout the time of the last 2 years, this Speaker's been condemning law enforcement. But she's got time to go on the Late Show and look at ice cream. She's got time to go to a salon and get her hair done. But she doesn't have time to come to the floor of the House, bring a resolution to the floor, and defend law enforcement. Finally, yesterday, noon, she's looking at the polls. She's looking at the video that I did on the floor with some of my colleagues. She's like, uh-oh, I better go to the floor and say something about law enforcement. But she didn't. She just said, well, we need to not have some of this rioting and looting. But, man, We've got all these great peaceful gatherings. She needs to do her job, and she refuses to, and that's why we should vacate the chair and get rid of the Speaker.
Congressman, you just mentioned a soundbite. We've just pulled it up. Here's Nancy Pelosi yesterday.
We support peaceful demonstrations. We participate in them. They are part of the essence of our democracy. That does not include looting, starting fires, or rioting. They should be prosecuted. That is lawlessness.
Well, she finally said something after months of not. But, Congressman, you have mentioned a number of times during this appearance, Nancy Pelosi has got to go. And that apparently is why certain members of the House Freedom Caucus there on your Republican side have said, Kevin McCarthy, you're our top Republican. Get a movement. Let's boot her.
Yeah, absolutely. And you notice that the speaker comes to the floor and she gave us about, 5 seconds there of saying something about the lawlessness, but no actual willingness to stand up for our law enforcement officers, no willingness to call out BLM, no willingness to call it Antifa. She's blowing up the House of Representatives. We're no longer the people's house. We have proxy voting for the first time in history. She brought the impeachment to the floor without it being bipartisan, without having the actual votes to do it. She's been making a mockery of the House of Representatives. She won't bring small business bills to the floor when we've got bipartisan bills like the one I passed in June. We've got another one now in September. So she needs to go. This isn't just waiting till November. This isn't just waiting till January.
Yeah,
yes,
but
we should vote her out.
But Congressman, it's all symbolism. It's all symbolism. If you want to motivate people, November 3rd is the time to put a minority. And I understand your sentiment, but I think the last thing we need now is another symbolic vote, right?
Well, but this isn't a symbolic vote. Here's what you do. You bring to the floor and you vacate the chair. Let's have a vote on who stands with Nancy Pelosi, who stands with the leadership of the Democratic leadership of the House.
They all do. But they all do.
What was that?
They all do. All the Democrats stand with her. We've already seen the drill.
No, but you know what? That's not entirely true. If you watch some of the quotes this week, there's a bunch of freshman Democrats that are starting to break from the speaker. And also, we know that AOC and some of the radical left don't like the speaker, that she's not radical enough. Let's force them to vote. Let's see where they stand. And then on November, you're going to know when you go to the polls who stands with Nancy Pelosi, who stands with the American people, who wants to stand up for America versus standing up for a Democratic Party that refuses to stand with law enforcement.
Congressman Roy, thanks for joining us from Texas.
Thank you all. Take care.
You too.